Well, today we're going to talk a little bit about bee escape board and harvesting a little honey. I'm getting ready to treat for mites because I found some deformed wing virus in the last week. Just a couple of them, one drone and one worker. But I did a test. My test in this yard didn't show very many varroa, but my test in the other yard showed a lot. So I want to do some treating. I don't harvest a lot of honey because in making bees and splitting them all the time, they're getting most of their honey back, and I'm feeding them sugar water a lot. So I'm going to take a few frames and a few boxes off some hives that I haven't messed with a lot so that we have a little bit of honey, and I may end up feeding part of it back, but once I treat, any of the honey that's in here won't be fit for human consumption. So I built a bee escape, which is, there's lots of them out there. This pattern lets the bees come out of the top box and not be able to find their way back in. And I put a hole here so that when it's on top of the box as a bee escape, when they come down and finding their way out, they can see light and they'll head this direction. Then they have a hard time getting back. When I put these together, I stapled another piece of screen on this side. So that turns it into a double screen board. There were times that I was making splits and doing things with bees that I needed to put one hive on top of another. I didn't have enough equipment. So I could take this as a double screen board, set it this way on top of a box of bees, put another box of bees on top with the entrance coming out the back. They have a small entrance, so they didn't have a lot to protect. Normally this was a weaker colony on top. They're also receiving the heat coming up from down below. And I put steel wool in these little escape spots so that it made it a full double screen board. And it worked really well. You could also use it that way in the fall when you had some that were struggling a little bit, to go over the top of another stronger hive so that heat will come up and help support the colony above. And then I've put this on a lot of my hives as the top board, and then the lid goes over the top. If I turn it this direction, they've got a top entrance, which is really nice if they're getting a tall stack and they've got a queen excluder. They can come in and out on the top. With it screened like this where they can't get into this top, this is also a perfect spot to put ant poison. We have a lot of sugar ants here, and they move in this. This is perfect and start laying eggs, but I can put ant poison up here and the bees can't get in it. So it can serve a lot of different purposes. If I don't want a top entrance, I turn it the other way and my lid butts up against this and seals it, and they don't have a top entrance. So this is a very useful tool that I've found, and I've seen a lot of people use variations of it, and there's probably somebody out there doing this same thing, but I don't think I've ever seen anybody that uses it for all those different purposes. So I've used it for the first time as a bee escape on this hive. This hive had one box that was full of capped honey. I haven't messed with it a lot. It's got a green queen, so she's last year's queen. She isn't knocking it out of the park, but she's doing okay. And so she's one I didn't split a lot and mess with, so they did put up some honey. So now we're going to see if putting the bee escape on under this box a couple of days ago actually took all the bees out of it. It's a lot easier to harvest the honey and stuff when you don't have to deal with a whole box full of bees. And there are not very many bees in this box. There are a few, but there aren't very many. It was completely full before I put the board in between the bee escape board. Now there's just a few hanging out, which I believe are probably just lazy bees and didn't want to go do anything else. And so I'm going to try to just brush a few of these out of there, hoping they'll stay off till I can get the box removed. But there aren't but just a handful in here. And if they're so lazy they've been up here for 2 days without doing any work, I probably don't need them in the hive anyway. So, though it didn't work perfect, I'm pretty impressed with it. And this is some pretty nice looking honey that they put in this box. A lot of it, this really light stuff that you can see here, they put up during our maple flow, which here in the West we normally don't have a lot of maple flow. We just have a couple of maple varieties and they bloom quick in the spring, and it's just enough for the bees to have something to eat while they're building their brood up. But this year, the way the weather was just perfect for them to just continue to bloom and bloom. And we had a heck of a good flow off the maple, and it's this really light colored honey. So I'm interested to try it. Oh, and get this box in and get the propolis out of it. Got so much propolis you can't get the frames to slide. Alrighty. So here are a few single frames we stole out of a few other boxes that are underneath. So we can show the front of this real quick, Izzy. I guess the front's on this side. So I put the mouse guard on the front of this box and turned it over to vent, so that when I put the honey in it, that wouldn't have robber bees trying to get in there and get to it, and I could throw the lid on and seal it up. I know I've talked about these a little bit. Glory Bee sells them, and they're really inexpensive and a nice, a couple of bucks inexpensive. And you can turn them one way so they get venting, and the other way so they can have an entrance and the mice can't get at it. So there's a couple of bees got left in there. Get out of there, bees. Go on. Anyway, that's our adventure for the honey stealing today. You know, we're gonna do a little bit of queen work, but I don't think there's anything needs video, and if there is, we'll shoot it for you. So like them and subscribe if you haven't and want to see more. Thanks.